Hello for the second Sunday in Ordinary Time, January 1819, John 1:29-34. The theme this week I have been asked to talk about at Pax Christi for those who are studying to become Catholic is the theme of Lamb of God. And I thought that's an interesting term, Lamb of God. I wonder what people think when they hear Lamb of God. Often I go on the internet and look up some of these terms, and I did Lamb of God. And the first explanation of Lamb of God was this. Well, Lamb of God is an American metal band from Richmond, Virginia, formed in 1990, and the head vocalist is Randy, and two of the musicians is Mark and Willie. Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Was one of the first meetings of Lamb of God. We say it often during Mass, and I just wonder if you and what you think when you say Lamb of God. It's the beginning of the Gospel today of John the Baptist. Behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Well, I also looked in about Lamb of God in a more religious setting, and interesting, lamb, goat. And they talk about Jesus as the Lamb of God, not a scapegoat. Well, we use the term scapegoat, when we pick on somebody else or whatever. And the Jewish people, did too. When they were conscious of their sins and they wanted to get rid of their sins, they would pick a innocent goat. They would place their hand on the head of the goat or on the body of the goat and tell God that they're sorry for their sins and may their sins sort of be upon this goat. And they would all do this. It became a ritual. And they would take this goat then, and somebody would take it out into the desert, where it would roam and die. And their sins are gone, dead with the goat, the scapegoat. Well, Jesus is not considered the scapegoat, even though maybe he was. But this term, Lamb of God, first used by John the Baptist in today's Gospel reading. And there's sort of two backdrops of this with the Jews, the Paschal Lamb. Well, the Paschal Lamb was a lamb that they would slaughter and sprinkle their doorposts with the blood of the lamb. And in the last plague, to save the Jews from the Egyptians, the angel of death passed over their doors with the blood of the lamb and passed over their cattle, where the firstborn was killed, their son, or the firstborn of the cattle was killed by the angel of death. And so this blood of the lamb saved the Jewish people, their firstborns. And so Jesus Christ is considered like the Paschal Lamb. His blood on the cross sort of washed away the sins of the world, or the judgment or death is passed over, and the Jewish people are saved, and those especially in their family, their stock. And so the backdrop of the Paschal Lamb, I'm sure, was in the mind of Jesus, was in the mind of John the Baptist in particular. Well, what do you think of when you say Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world? Have mercy on us, right before communion. Lamb of God. Remember when I was a seminarian 100 years ago, 5 others, seminarians, and I went to the Holy Land for a month. And we got along and around there pretty well. And there's one thing relative to a lamb that I'll never forget. We went up into the hills around Jerusalem, and our Easter and their Passover were pretty much the same time that year. And so, of course, they were getting ready for their Passover just as we were getting ready for Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. And I'll never forget, there was a family up in these hills that was getting ready to slaughter a little lamb. And there was the family, the kids, watching this little lamb tied up. And the father goes over with a sharp knife and slits the throat of the lamb, and blood gushes out with a thump of the heart over the white wool. The lamb bleats not, says nothing, and just lies there suffering for a minute or so and dies. I mean, it gives me chills when I think of it today, 100 years later. Jesus was like that little lamb. His blood was spilled. He was also quiet at trial, so innocent like a little lamb, and let it happen. He gave his life for your life and my life. When I hear that term, Lamb of God, it means so much more. Since seeing that family in the hills of the Holy Land slaughtering a lamb to remember their heritage in Egypt and the salvation of their firstborn. And John the Baptist saying that. You know, right before communion, we either sing or we say, Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world, have mercy on us. And we sing it. And right before communion, the priest holds up the body and blood and says, Behold the Lamb of God. Behold him who takes away the sins of the world. Blessed are those called to the supper of the Lamb. So all of these things are connected. And sometimes we just whip them off or sing them off so flippantly or without thinking. I hope today or this weekend at Mass, when you sing the Lamb of God or when you hear that right before you go to communion, you really zero in on Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, who came and spilled his blood for you and I. Innocent, like a little lamb. Lamb of God. Powerful, powerful phrase, but maybe not so well listened to. Have a good day.